morning, good afternoon, or in our case, good evening to you all. Welcome back to the Since I Was Young podcast for all things Heart of Midlothian for our 99th episode. Just one more from the big 100 away. Me and Alan said literally just before we came on. Don't know how we got here, but we have. As most of you will know as well, as we put on to the Twitter page as well, we were featured in the matchday programme for the match against St Johnstone. Alan wrote quite a few really nice words in there as well, but it's absolutely right as well to echo what he said as well. Like, without you guys, it wouldn't be possible. So honestly, guys, from me and Alan, honestly, thank you so much as well. And one of the records, or stats that just keep popping up throughout this season, as well. And I'm pretty sure Alan can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the third time we've featured in the matchday program. Is that right, Alan? Yep.
Third or fourth, yeah.
And every time we have featured, we have won every game that we've been was featured in. So if you want to feature us just every week, please feel free to do so. But yeah, on that note, thank you very much, and the matching program organisers as well for featuring us once again. It is always a pleasure. Now to move on to the topics of this week's podcast as well. Obviously, as I just mentioned there, we'll talk a wee bit about the win over St Johnstone at home. Unbelievably, as I just mentioned, with the records tumbling away under Stephen A. Smith, that is now our third win on the bounce. A feat not achieved since January 2022 as of last year, which is crazy to actually think. But yeah, that's where we're at. Obviously, we'll talk a tiny bit about, has the season actually been that bad? It seems like, with this podcast, we always have a array of emotions. Was it a roller coaster, if you will? I don't know how many times I've used that word this season so far, but it has been. And we always tend to think that things are the worst time for Hearts ever in the club's history. But judging by some stats as well, it might not be all as bad as it seems. So we'll touch a little bit on that. A wee bit on the Scottish Cup fourth round draw that was made either yesterday or the day before as we're recording this. And then we will end with a look ahead to our next fixture, which is Kilmarnock away. So, as always, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel for the Since I Was Young podcast, please think about it. And if you want to get in contact with us as well via our Twitter page, you are more than welcome to do so. All will be in the description and on screen as always. So, we do hope you enjoy. So, Alan, you were lucky enough to snatch yourself a ticket the day before, because obviously, with after the return of said club legend, or said not club legend, Craig Levein, you were absolutely dying to go. So just literally like a 2 minute sort of thing on this, because this has been a wee bit of a debate for the last sort of week with the Craig Levein back in football with St Johnstone. Is Craig Levein considered as a club legend? So obviously that term gets tossed about a lot with players as well. They'll go down as a legend for the club, but to me, when somebody says that is a club legend, you're going into the realms of John Robertson, the Gary Mackay. I would consider a club legend. They were Billy Bald, etc. So just in one sentence, would you consider Craig Levein as a club legend so that we can put this argument to bed?
I would say so. Certainly, I think he is. And I know there's some people that disagree, and they're right to have their opinions, as I always say. But I think, it was a really, really interesting debate that seemed to kind of just come out of nowhere. And it was like, why
Hmm.
does it matter? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
I wrote it in the program as well. Like, you can't, like, whatever you think about Levine in terms of, his management with us, his director of football roles and all the rest of it, you can have your thoughts on that, but you can't disregard the fact that this is a guy that played more than 400 games,
Hmm.
captained us, managed us. He lived the dream that Hearts fans would love to live. And I think it's funny. Again, I'm just kind of summing up things, but I think opinions of Levine differ depending on which generation of fan you ask.
Yeah.
If you were to ask an older fan that grew up watching him play, they'd say, oh, he was a legend for his playing career.
Hmm.
If you ask a younger fan, they'll say, nah, he was a fucking disaster as a director of football. I don't care if he played for us. He was a disaster as a director of football. He's been responsible for the decline over the last few years. But nah, in my eyes, Craig Levein's a legend. And it was funny, like a lot of it was sort of talking about, oh, will he get booed? Will he get, cheered, etc.
Yeah.
Honestly, the day of the game, you wouldn't even know he was there. Like it was, yeah, it was bizarre. I think even on the big screens, they still had Stephen McLean as the St Johnstone manager. So I don't even think they acknowledged that Levine was actually there.
May I also say that he is also like the club legend as well. Like we're putting them out there, but no, it was yeah, yeah, like you're right. To me, he's all like those things. Like like he is a club legend. As you said, like spent 20 years of his of his of his playing a career and his was and his management at the actual club, obviously as you said as well, with the downfall, with us, during the 2019 season, it was an absolute disaster. But to the quote, the man, it was a good laugh in it. What I mean? That you can look back now and be, yeah, that was a good laugh. But if I can very much, Alan, and we can actually get started properly on the podcast. So as I said, you were at the game on a freezing Saturday. The well done to yourself and to every fan there. Um, as I gathered, because I only managed to catch the extended highlights. Um, I believe from what you told me and from what I've seen on most sort of people's feeds as well, the first 20 minutes of the actual game was absolutely fantastic. It was a quick movement, the good chances to create a good sort of possession of the ball, very much on the front foot, and then the other 70 minutes was pretty average. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I just had something come through at me there. Yeah, like it wasn't the first 20 minutes, like I was sitting watching it, I was thinking, this is good, this is what you want, this is quick passing movements. And Cochrane had a chance that many people have kind of said if he puts it away, it's a potential goal of the season contender because of
Yeah.
just the passing that led to it. And then I think it was Boyce or Shankland had a header off a corner as well that the goalkeeper did well with. But yeah, in that first 20 minutes, it was very positive and it looked like, what, we've come out early, we've got something about us.
Mm.
But as I said to you, as the half went on, it became much more slow and safe. And St Johnstone, to be fair, defended well. They set up as we knew that Levein would set them up in a defensive style and just a low block. That's what teams do when they come to Tynecastle now. And it was almost like after that first 20 minutes, we just kind of ran out of steam a little bit. And it was just kind of like, okay, we didn't get a goal, right? We're just going to, plod along now. But yeah, it would have, put it this way, there was a lot of frustrated fans and a lot of irritated fans in Tynecastle, myself included, but it would have made it a lot better had we got an early goal. But it's not something we tend to do, is score early goals, unfortunately.
You're absolutely right, sir, on that one. I mean, You mentioned to me, like, sort of while you were at the actual game, what actually did make a difference, like especially like to like give us a bit more with like more so like sort of in the wider areas where the Cochrane and was it and the Forest diagnosed to like sort of in the inverted fullback like sort of positions. What well, was it like in particular that made like sort of a bit more of a pleasant sort of like sort of the watch from Hearts?
I just think, like, as I say at the start of it, it was very much like we had an idea, we knew what we wanted to do.
Hmm.
Cochrane was staying wide. Forrest didn't have a great game by his standards, and I don't like to say that because I'm a big Alan Forrest fan, as everybody knows. But it wasn't his finest hour, unfortunately. But I think it's funny, like, and it's something that I'll probably talk about after. But St Johnstone defended incredibly well. They crowded the middle of the pitch, and the way our shape and our system was set up, we had an attack. We had Shankland, Boyce, Lowry, Grant was also playing as well. So there's four attack minded players, and they were all playing in the same place. They were all playing in the same spaces, and it made it very, very easy for St Johnstone to defend against it.
Hmm.
And that again added to the frustration from the Hearts fans because there was so many times in the game when Alex Cochrane was standing completely on his own on the left wing and nobody was giving him the ball because it was all going down the other side and Forrest was cutting in into the same space where the rest of the forwards were. So it was very kind of bitty after that. But again, like I say, I've seen a lot of people criticise the Hearts players for going sideways and backwards, and it's understandable. But St Johnstone kind of forced us to do that. So, and I saw Liam Boyce did an interview after the game, and he basically said he was like, we don't like to have to pass backwards. Like we would rather not have to, but sometimes you have to. If there's nothing else for you to do, sometimes you do have to go backwards. And yeah, it can be annoying, of course, but if that's how you keep the possession and you recycle it and you go again, that's what you have to do. Like
Hmm.
Benny was getting slaughtered for it all day as well, going sideways and backwards. But I thought Benny was fantastic, and I don't. I think as well, it's not a surprise that since Benny and Boyce have both been back in the team regularly, we're improving and we're grinding out results because we've got players that are intelligent players and can play an intelligent way. That
Yeah, I mean,
that's as I say, I had lots of conversations with people over the last few days about Benny, and I get it. I understand some people think, oh, he should be driving forward more, he should be coming forward with the ball more. Why is he not doing that? And I'm thinking, did he used to do that before he was injured? Because I don't remember Benny ever being a player that would drive forward with the ball. He was always
hmm.
very safe. He was always very good at winning the ball back and recycling it. But he's never one that's going to, bomb forward and hit a shot from the edge of the box. That's not his game. It never has been. And if people
Hmm.
want that to be his game, it's not what Benny does. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was actually very impressed with Benny on Saturday, to be honest. I know that'll probably be controversial for some people, but I thought he did a very good job.
Yeah, no, like I mean, I do agree. Like, I'm probably one of those fans that equally gets frustrated as well when we do play it back. Obviously, from a player's point of view as well, you like you have to take that into like account. Like, you don't want one to aimlessly just lose like possession. Well, and you could just play it safe. But again, I get in that same vein as well. Like, if this is the kind of football that Naismith wants to play and be a bit more braver the passes and the decision making. I know that you said, and I do agree as well that Benny's like in particular, he's never been that kind of player. But again, maybe as well, just add like a bit more like to the conversation. Maybe if he were to add the odd like a kind of braver pass or the ball forward as well to his game, because like I would imagine teams would pick up on that as well. That he's not like a necessarily driving force into the center of that actual park, but like with the odd kind of like ball like sort of forward or the like or as like I said the more braver pass as well. Who knows that could potentially like make him a bit of an rounder like as well. But you're right. Like mainly that's not his game. Like
No, and
like he's fantastic at like what he actually does, and there's no need to kind of
yeah.
like add more in terms of like your
Mhm.
pressure, like to actually get the ball moving forward because we've got other players for that.
Yeah, I think as well, just before I kind of move on and talk about the next thing, Frankie Kent was very much the same. He got the same sort of headlines in that I think he had the most successful passes and the most touches of the ball of any Hearts player. And it was purely because the ball was going backwards to him all the time.
Yeah.
And he was being allowed to move forward with it. But again, like I said before, there was a lack of creative movement from the forward players on the pitch for Hearts. And St Johnstone just defended very well and said, well, if you want to play through us, you have to play through us. And, we didn't have a lot of movement up front. There wasn't a lot of width in that area. So Frankie Kent's coming forward with the ball and he's got nowhere to pass it to other than 5 yards forward to Benny, who's standing in front of him. And then Benny's looking sideways and not finding anything. So it goes back to Frankie Kent again.
Hmm.
So like I get it and I understand. I understand both sides of the argument, i.e., it's not exciting to watch. It's not good football to watch. Like watching us go slowly sideways and backwards is not good enough. But if there's nothing to hit in front of them, what choice have they got? You
Hmm.
know, and it happened a lot during the game. It was very kind of bitty, as I said earlier. But the one thing I will say, and I messaged you this earlier, I'm refusing to have a rant about VAR again this week because I feel like all I talk about is VAR on this at the moment. But how it didn't even think to tell the referee about the Forest penalty claim, I have no idea. Like, it was up the other end of the park from where I was, so I didn't see it in real time. But when I came back and watched the highlights and watched it back again, it's it's a penalty, or at least it has to be a conversation about a penalty, even if the ref doesn't give it. Like there had to be a check there. There had
Hmm.
to be, but there wasn't. And
Yeah.
Forrest clearly gets a kick on his ankle and the ball's away. But I think the VAR officials must have been having a tea break or something at that point. They missed that one.
Yeah. I think
But that's all I'm going to say about VAR, by the way.
you literally what I was about to say. The only thing that I'll say on it is I 100% agree. I think we can both agree that VAR all around, not just in Scotland, but everywhere in the UK, like especially right now, is an absolute
Yeah.
shambles. So again, that
Mm-hmm.
could be like another episode, just solely by itself at some point during this season. So yeah, we'll keep it there, like for the time being. But the other kind of, I mean, like not involving the VAR, but I do think it is trouble we have to call out, because obviously we do it for other teams as well. Was the Vargas I was a penalty claim as well. Um, you know, I don't know if there's is such a term as a good dive, but that was a really shit dive. Like literally, it really was.
Oh, damn.
But I think it has to be called out, because you know, obviously we could sit here and say oh, there's been two or three incidents where we've seen the clips pretty much of the old firm as well, just to name a few, like sort of Cantwell, that young lad the Rangers have signed, on an extended a contract, like McClucky or whatever the fuck
Yeah.
his name is. Was uh, Kyogo as well,
Yeah.
but for us as fans of our own football club, like he needs to nip that in the bud, yeah.
Oh, definitely, definitely. He's Vargas, and I posted it on Twitter again. Vargas he's got far too much of a growing kind of reputation with Hearts fans for him to
Mm.
do things like that. It was just silly. There was no need for it. We were 1-0 up at that point as well, I believe, when he just decided to take a wee tumble. And yeah, you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. And I think it was good because when he takes the dive, obviously all the St Johnstone players are all over him, squaring up to him and all that. I saw Ryan McGowan getting steaming in as well, which I thought was quite
I
funny.
know I saw that, so
Um,
happy.
but aye, the good thing about it was that Cochrane goes over and kind of pulls him out the way of it. And I saw Shankland again, having watched the extended highlights. Shankland puts an arm around him and clearly says something to him. So it's basically, I'm hoping that Shankland is saying, "Don't be fucking stupid. You're not going to get a penalty for that. Like, don't do that again." Because Vargas has that sort of tricky winger vibe about him. And the
Hmm.
last thing that we want is for a referee to mark his card and say, "Oh, he's dived before, he'll probably dive again." And then if he gets fouled in the box and it's a legitimate penalty, he might get more
Yeah.
bookings for dives when they're not actually dives. You know what I mean? But yeah, like when Vargas and Oda came on, it did improve things for Hearts in the game. And we haven't even spoken about the goal, but that happened before it. Vargas and Oda were brought on and they just provided a bit more width, a bit more energy, and a bit more pace more than anything else. And it helped. It helped massively. The goal was as a result of space being opened up. Benny passed it sideways to fans moaning and groaning. Cochrane gets the ball, whips in a good cross. It finds its way to Boyce, who hits it. And I don't know about you, but the goal got credited to Shanklin because it hit off him and
Yeah,
went in.
I saw it. That
I,
like I didn't. Like I don't know who. I mean,
I
if you're going to put it down to the letter of the law, it should be Shanklin's goal for all as much as
yeah,
that's horrible on the Boyce. But I do. It was Hearts that put it up as a Boyce's goal, and when I looked at it
yeah,
on the BBC website, they had put Shankland as well. So like I'm not too
yeah.
like I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. The shot was on target from Boyce, so for me, it's Boyce's goal. But
Fair.
Shankland, it hits off him. I don't know how much he knows about it, but it hits off him and goes in. It was quite strange though. Like at the time when it went in, like in the stadium, obviously fans were celebrating because obviously we scored a goal finally.
Hmm.
But the St Johnstone players all sort of crowded the referee, and there was a bit of kind of confusion, almost like they were wanting an offside call, and it was almost like Tynecastle was waiting for the referee to check with VAR if it was offside, because that way
Hmm.
where you celebrate and you don't
Yeah.
really know if it's a goal or not. That was kind of the vibe that I got about that goal, but having watched it back, Shanklin was onside, even if it does hit off his arse and goes in. There was no conversation about offside.
Hmm.
But yeah, the goal was very welcomed because it at that point it became one of those games where it was we were thinking this is going to be 0-0. This is going to be a scrappy 0-0. We've created
Yeah.
chances, we've not put them away. St Johnston didn't really create very much either. And Xander Clark had a few saves to make, but nothing that made me go, "Oh, thank fuck, that was a brilliant save." But yeah, the goal came at a good time. And then what followed was, again, good in game management, lots of backwards passing, again, to more moans and groans from sections of the stands. And yeah, again, as I said it earlier, it's not nice to watch boring backwards and sideways and slow play, but sometimes it's important. And when you're
Hmm.
winning, it's even more important. We've found a habit of grinding out wins by one goal, and listen, I've said it many, many times, and you'll know what I'm going to say. I would love to sit in Tynecastle and watch us play like prime Barcelona or prime Brazil or prime Arsenal, but it doesn't happen. Naismith can talk about playing an attacking style of football, and he does, to be fair to him. And we've seen it in flashes, but the priority is wins. And like I say, if we win a game 1-0 and the ball goes in off Shanklin's arse like it did on Saturday, I don't really care. I'll take
Agree.
it every day of the week.
Absolutely, Alan. Absolutely. So, in that same sense as well, because yeah, there was the odd chance, after the goal itself, but um, by the end, I come away with all 3 points, and as we said at the start as well, that's now 3 wins on the bounce since January last year. So, in that same sense as well, Alan, I know that you and I kind of brought up the conversation like about it like as well. I know that statement might be maybe too strong a word, but do you think with that win, do you think that is maybe kind of put a marker down as for something to aim for? because obviously, we've said this, once we've came away with a win from Naismith, and then the next game Wickets just went tits up again. But um, and especially with next week's game, like away to Kilmarnock, which is no that was an easy task by any means. But do you feel as if like this could be like some sort of turning point, or because granted, we all know that this season itself is probably going to be a work in progress, like essentially. So would you kind of account it as
Hmm.
a statement that win, or do you feel as if it's something not to kind of get over, sort of like ahead with just now?
I think it's a good win. I think it adds to two good wins before it, albeit, they weren't the most convincing, but they were wins.
Mm.
And 3 points is all that matters at the end of the day. As I've said, Naismith talks a good game about his attacking football, and a lot of people are still to be convinced of that, and that's fair enough, as am I. But when you put it on paper and you say, well, where we are, it's not actually that bad. I'd mentioned it to you earlier on. Xander Clark's got the best clean sheet record in the league outside of the old firm. We've got the best defensive record in the league outside the old firm. And we've got a
Yeah,
striker that's on 11 goals now. So,
it's weird,
when
right?
you look at
It's
this,
it's,
yeah,
it's very weird.
when when you look at the stats and you say, well, actually, it's not been that bad. Maybe fans, and I kind of posed this question earlier, maybe it's an element of Naismith talking about his attacking style of play and what we saw at the end of last season, which was evidence of that. It's maybe raised fans' expectations for Naismith's Hearts team, and maybe fans are thinking, hang on, this isn't what you said it would be. This isn't good enough because it's not what you said it would be.
Yeah.
But then you actually take a step back and you look at the fixtures and the results and you go, we've actually not been bad. We've just maybe
No.
not been as good as we'd hoped we would be, if maybe that's the way of putting it. Like,
Mm.
December is going to be massive though. Like, we play
Yeah.
all of the top six in
Yeah,
December.
we've got a run of games of seven, I think that is, and it's
Yeah.
ridiculous, like really packed.
Yeah, it's every team in the top six we play in December because we've got Kilmarnock who are currently sixth at the moment.
Mm.
Then we've got Rangers at Tiny, then Aberdeen away, then Celtic away, and then St Mirren at home, and then Hibs away in December. So it's the entirety of the top six basically that we play
Mm.
in these next few weeks. And if Naismith needs that statement win, which I think he does still, it's a good time to get one in the next few weeks. It would be
Agreed.
fantastic to see him get something. But yeah, this it's very, very strange. It's very strange. Maybe we're just
Yeah.
all ridiculously demanding and thinking that we should be better than we are. But if we'd picked up early points in the season, we would be third right now, and we'd probably be quite clear of it, which
Yeah,
is the
no.
crazy thing.
Yeah, no, man, exactly. Because, as you actually said, I mean, with it's not to kind of be harsh to Clark, but I'm not saying that he's been bad this season, but I don't think he's been kind of
Oh.
overly convincing. And who knows, maybe like an element of that is maybe from even a small thing as international games where he's been called out a few times for his performances there.
Mhm.
You're right. I do agree that I feel as if we should have been better, but at the same time, I don't know what that actually means because we're
Yeah.
only 2 points behind St Mirren, who are currently playing as we speak against Ross County. Once they played, we if they if they lose or draw, we have a game in hand. So and
Yeah.
going off what you just said there, before we move on, would you say that December is arguably the defining month of where we could actually end up throughout the league at the end of the season?
I think so. I think so. I think, Naismith spoke about it in the international break and said, it's good that once that international break's out the way, we don't have another one till March now.
Mm.
So it's basically all guns blazing in the league and obviously the league, the Scottish Cup, etc. but the next few weeks are important. And having the momentum of 3 wins in a row is helpful. Like Kilmarnock away, obviously we'll do a little bit on the end of this, but Kilmarnock away is not an easy place to go. But
Mm.
if we've got a bit of momentum and a bit of confidence and fit players coming back as well, hopefully, it's not beyond the realms to say that we could go there and get a win. I mean, we should be able to go there and get a win,
Yeah,
but we've seen it in recent years that we've struggled away from home. But I think people don't, I'm not saying they don't appreciate it, but I think people don't quite understand just how important momentum is. And when you get results and you get wins, it makes you feel better.
yeah.
So, yeah, like, but December's massive. December is huge. I'm eyeing up the game at Tynecastle against Rangers. I've got a feeling that could be a tasty one,
Mm.
but we'll see. Time will tell.
Absolutely, and absolutely. Well, another game that we're going to be playing away, but not too far down the actual road, is an Edinburgh Derby in the Scottish Cup. Obviously, like as everybody will know, we were drawn to Spartans away. Let's like put that into brackets, but it's not the tie itself. It's more the question of perhaps where the tie like is like going to be held. So obviously, where Spartans are, like obviously it's not the like the greatest stadium there, and so there have been talk about potentially moving it to Easter Road, which would be good for both teams, like in terms of like the gate receipts as well. So it would be good in particular for the Spartans as well to kind of take advantage of that. But it was you that said yourself, to me, Alan, like that it kind of takes like the romance away from it because like obviously like we were was on the other end of it, but like I can imagine when Borough Rangers beat us, like at their home stadium, like if you want to call it that, you know, like the small amount of fans that they had, they must have had a great time,
Yeah,
because it was at their home ground, like like the few folk that come to actually watch them must have had a great night. Ours, well, that's a long story, but
not so much.
I like exactly. But I mean, like just a few words on it, Alan. I mean, would you rather like sort of play like sort of at like sort of a third road or something, or would you rather like things that don't change, like you just play it like at their original home ground?
I think it kind of rests with Spartans what they want to do with it. If they feel that they could hold it at home and still keep it there and keep it at Ainsley Park, that would be great. I think,
Hmm.
but I can see both sides of it. I can see
Hi.
the element of they'd make more money if it went to Easter Road, but they'd also have to pay Hibs to use Easter Road, so they might look at
Yeah.
that and go, it's not worth doing that either. But no, I hope it stays at Ainsley Park. I think it would be a nice wee atmosphere. And I mean, ultimately, let's be blunt and honest here. We should win regardless of where it is. They could play it in my back garden if they wanted. We should win anyway. Like it shouldn't be up for conversation. But
Hmm.
they'll probably feel a bit more confident in their ability to cause an upset if it is still
Yeah.
at home for them.
Of course.
Um, but yeah, no, I think it's one to keep an eye on, and it might well end up on TV as well. So we'll see on that. But aye,
I
just
can
keep
I
it at Ainsley
can
Park.
I can guarantee you, mate. It'll be Celtic versus Bucky Thistle. I can guarantee
Oh,
it will be.
more than likely, aye.
Absolutely. Right, Joe, and we'll come to the last bit of the podcast where we will have a wee preview of the next away game, as we just mentioned, which is away at the Kelly Park on Saturday. Thoughts, Alan? Because I've actually just got the league table just now. So as I just said, we'll have a game in hand over St Mirren if they do like sort of lose or draw tonight. But equally as well, like as much as it is an opportunity to close that gap on third place, equally if we do lose, then Kilmarnock, who are sitting in sixth, will then be on the level points with us on 20. So, again, as you just did there, December is going to be huge, but obviously, the Saturday's game is also huge as well, and it is an opportunity, not only to sort of close that gap on St Mirren in first place, but it is a good chance to put another notch on on the away wins as well, which has been fantastic so far this season. So, um, what are your thoughts? And obviously, at the end, we will ask for a score prediction from us both, sir.
I think it'll be tricky. I think,
Mm,
like I said before, the last game we played them was the League Cup. We beat them, we beat them 2-1, but it was a scrappy one. It was narrow.
mm,
But again, it was a away win for Hearts, so we weren't complaining about it.
absolutely
But
not.
Killie are a decent side. Derek McInnes is a good manager, as we've said many times. He sets his team up in a way that you all know, in the same way as Levein set up St Johnstone. You could tell how Levein was going to set up St Johnstone a week before that game. Naismith should know. Naismith should know right now how Derek McInnes is going to set up Kilmarnock, because we all know, we've seen it constantly. He's got them doing quite well though, and there's a couple of players on their side that are a little bit dangerous. I like the lad
Oh, yeah.
Armstrong. I think it's Danny Armstrong, the winger.
Mm.
They've got as well. They've got boy, I think it's Kyle Vassell, the striker that plays up front for
You're
them.
you are
So
correct, sir, because those are the only
yeah,
two players I know from that side.
they've got some threats about them. So, but then in the same way as that, like obviously we've got our own threats as well. And I think something I didn't mention earlier. I have a lot of confidence in our defense at the moment. I
Mm.
think you spoke about Xander Clark and all of that, and I get it. People have been critical of him in occasions, in the same way as people have been critical of our defense or certain parts of it, i.e., Kai Rolls. But I'm looking at that defense that we played against against St Johnstone on the weekend there. The only issue I had with it was Stephen Kingsley playing at the right of a back three, but it was just because we didn't really have anybody else to do it. When Halkett comes back, he slots in there perfectly. And
Oh, oh, that
a
man.
back three, but can you imagine a back three of Kent, Halkett, and Rolls, the way that Rolls is playing just now as well? If we
Pretty
thought our
decent, no?
defense was good, yeah, if we thought our defense was good now, it'll get even better when Halkett comes back, hopefully. But no, back to Kilmarnock. I think it'll be a very, very difficult game. Like you said, the league is so tight right now that one win can take you from bottom half into top four probably. So it'll be very, very tough. We'll have to be switched on. We'll have to be ready for it. And I hope the newfound Hearts away from home confidence can shine through, because I think it'll need
Absolutely.
to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, again, it is a small thing, but it is something to build on as well, and would probably make more of the case for for the Naismith as well, to actually be a bit more sort of convincing for the fans as well, to show that
Yeah,
these small things and these small improvements are sort of doing the better for the team itself. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. I know that we say that every away game is a tough task, which it is in its own ways. I would say that Kilmarnock is one of the more kind of higher sort of threats. I would say I don't it's not a necessarily easy place to actually go. As I said as well, they're sitting in joint sixth at the moment, and one win would would change all that as well, So
yeah.
I think yeah, you're right. I think they'll be difficult to actually break down, but as you actually said that like we did it last time out in the League Cup, so there's no reason why we can't do it again. Um, I'd like to slowly try to put back my positive cap on, as the as the season goes on. But I'm not going to this time, because any time that I've said that we will draw, we've actually won. So I'm going to keep that streak going.
Yeah.
I'm gonna now I've fucked it, but still. So I'm gonna go. I'm at fuck's sake, Ewan. I'm gonna go for a 2-1 win, the same as last time. I think that seems
Yep.
like a very reasonable and achievable goal,
Hmm.
the goals. But yeah, I think again, we do say the same thing, but again, hopefully the momentum, with the free wins on the actual bounce, obviously, sort of Naismith will want to keep that streak going.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we said, December is a hard task as well. But yeah, I think 2-1. I think we will have just enough about in the tank to actually do it. What about for yourself, sir?
Yeah, you took it straight out of my head. I was going 2-1 as well. I think it'll be scrappy. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be tight. But, you know, I'd like to think that our forwards are starting to click a little bit.
Mm.
There were moments that I saw in the St Johnstone game and in other games as well that have made me sort of think a bit more positively about things. And like you, my positive hat is next to me. It's not on yet, not fully, but it's near. Just from the little signs that I've seen and things that I've watched and the way Naismith's talking and things like that, I'm thinking, okay, the seeds are there. There's something happening. It's maybe not quite happened yet, but there's something happening. And yeah, I was going to go 2-1 as well, so I'm just going to stick with that rather than change and pick something else. I'll go 2-1, similar score, like the same score line as the League Cup win.
Fantastic, sir. Well, as always, we would love to hear all your score predictions as well, and your thoughts on if the game should be held at the original home ground to Spartans as well for the Scottish Cup. And do you actually think it has been a shit of a season, as mainly me and Alan have made that out to actually be? So we would love to hear all your comments on that. As ever, and our amazing preparation skills. We still don't know what we're going to do for the 100th episode, but we do have a few things in mind as well. So we will all keep you updated for that as well. So from myself and Alan, as always, thank you very much for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please think about subscribing via our YouTube page. And if you want to have a few sort of clever or just shout abuse at us, please feel free to do so. All links will be in the description as always as well. So again, for the travelling fans away to the Kelly making the trip, we do hope you have a good one and a good result to bring back with you. So from myself and Alan, you all take care. Bye for now.